Welcome to our deep dive today. Specifically for all of you educational leaders out there, whether you're a teacher, assistant principal, or superintendent, this one's for you.
Right.
We're diving into Cal Newport's So Good They Can't Ignore You.
Okay.
And figuring out how its insights can really apply to what you're doing every day. Like boosting those leadership skills, improving teamwork, and really at the end of the day, elevating student achievement.
Yeah. It's really interesting because this book kind of challenges some of that traditional thinking, around career satisfaction. It moves away from that, follow your passion idea that we hear all the time and really encourages all of us to, focus on building those valuable skills that make us indispensable in education.
Okay, so let's break down this whole passion hypothesis thing a little bit more. Newport's arguing that just loving kids, while definitely important, isn't really enough to build a truly fulfilling and impactful career in education.
That's right. Yeah. He suggests that just focusing on those pre-existing passions can be kind of misleading. And he uses the example of Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah.
Someone we always think of as he followed his passion.
Right.
But, Jobs' initial interests were in things like calligraphy and design.
Yeah.
Which, later really influenced Apple's whole aesthetic.
Well, that's such a good example.
Yeah.
It shows how those skills that you develop, even in totally unrelated areas, can become super valuable assets in education.
Exactly. And this leads us to this idea of career capital.
Okay.
Which, in education, that could be masterful classroom management, innovative curriculum design, or, deep expertise in a certain subject area.
Right.
These are the skills that really make someone stand out as a leader and innovator.
So it's about adopting that craftsman mindset.
Yes.
As an educational leader. Right. It's about consistently pushing yourself to get better.
Yeah.
To become that go-to expert, the one who really makes a difference in your school.
Precisely. And a really key ingredient in, developing that mastery is deliberate practice.
Okay.
And it's not even just about putting in the hours.
Right.
It's about pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, seeking out constant feedback, and just refining your approach in a really intentional way.
That reminds me of how musicians approach their craft.
Totally.
They isolate certain techniques, they practice relentlessly, and they're always getting feedback from their instructors.
Yeah, and this translates perfectly to education. For all of you educational leaders out there, deliberate practice could be trying a new teaching method.
Right.
Observing, master teachers, or actively seeking feedback from your colleagues and mentors. It's all about intentionally honing your craft and those leadership skills.
So Newport himself actually used this deliberate practice to master, writing complex research papers.
Right.
He broke the whole process down, focused on those specific elements, and really relentlessly sought out feedback.
Right.
And ultimately, he reached this level of mastery that played a huge role in his success.
So this raises an important question for all of us in education.
Yeah.
How can we incorporate, this idea of deliberate practice into our everyday routines?
Right.
To improve our leadership skills and to, get better outcomes for our students.
Another big theme in the book is the importance of control and autonomy.
Yeah.
Which is, all about having ownership over what you do and how you do it, something that so many educational leaders are striving for.
Absolutely. And, if we apply this to education, it begs the question, how can teachers and administrators, actually gain more autonomy within their roles?
Right.
This could mean advocating for, more flexibility in curriculum design, seeking out leadership opportunities, or even creating new innovative programs within their schools.
So, but it's not just about demanding more control right away.
Right. Definitely not. Newport actually cautions against what he calls the control trap.
Okay.
Which is wanting more control before you've actually earned it through your skills and your track record.
Right.
And he highlights this really cool story of Ryan Voiland, a farmer who spent a decade meticulously honing his skills before he launched his own successful organic farm.
So it's about strategically building up your career capital.
Exactly.
Demonstrating your expertise and earning that right to have greater autonomy and influence within your school or district.
Exactly. You need to build that leverage, that allows you to make those changes and to really implement your vision effectively.
And that idea of, strategically building that career capital before seeking more control leads perfectly into this discussion of mission-driven work. Having a clear purpose can be so motivating.
Right.
And give our work in education a much deeper meaning.
Yeah, and Newport, he offers this really compelling example with Dr. Parthi Subedi, a Harvard professor, who combined her love for science with, infectious disease research in Africa.
Right.
And, she found this mission that just like totally resonated with her skills and her values, and that really drove her groundbreaking work.
That's a great example of how like a mission can fuel some incredible achievements.
Yeah.
So for our educational leaders listening, how can they discover their own unique mission within their schools and districts?
It doesn't always have to be about like this grand sweeping vision, right?
Sure.
It can start with just like identifying, one specific area where you really want to make a difference.
Okay.
So ask yourself, what unique skills and experiences do you bring to the table? What impact do you want to have on your students, on your team, or like your whole school community?
So instead of like, getting stuck on finding this pre-existing passion,
yeah,
maybe educational leaders should be asking themselves, what impact do I want to make? What problems do I want to solve? How can my skills and my leadership contribute to, positive change in my school?
Exactly. And Newport introduces this really valuable concept to help us explore our mission, and he calls them little bets.
Little bets. Tell me more about that.
So think of it as a way to test out your ideas and refine your approach. It's all about experimenting with smaller projects, piloting new programs, gathering feedback, and just like iterating along the way.
So instead of launching like this massive school-wide initiative all at once, you might start with like a pilot program in just one classroom or one grade level.
Right.
See what works and kind of build from there.
Exactly. It's like applying the scientific method to educational leadership.
Okay.
You form a hypothesis, you test it out in a controlled environment, you analyze the results, and you adjust your approach based on, what you learn.
And this is where like collaboration becomes super crucial, right? You're not working in isolation as an educational leader.
Right. Absolutely. You have this whole team of talented educators,
right,
each with their own unique strengths and perspectives.
Right.
And like creating a culture where these little bets can flourish is so essential. Teachers, they need to feel empowered to experiment, to try new things, and to know that it's okay to fail sometimes.
And that kind of ties back to that whole idea of deliberate practice that we were talking about earlier, right?
Totally.
Create an environment where failure isn't seen as a setback, but like an opportunity for growth and learning.
Exactly. It's about fostering a culture of trust and psychological safety.
Right.
Where teachers feel comfortable taking risks and pushing their boundaries. But, experimentation without reflection, it's kind of incomplete.
So after implementing a little bet, it's crucial to take a step back.
Yeah.
Analyze the results, gather feedback, and figure out, what needs to be improved.
Exactly. And this is where strong feedback mechanisms are super important.
Okay.
And it's not just about top-down evaluations. It's about peer-to-peer feedback, student feedback, and even self-reflection.
So you're creating this continuous cycle of learning and improvement.
Yes.
Teachers are experimenting, reflecting, getting feedback, and refining their approaches, all while working towards, this shared mission.
Exactly. And, as teachers are going through this whole process of deliberate practice, experimentation, and feedback, they're not only getting better at their own individual skills,
right,
but they're also building the collective career capital of the whole school.
It's not about individual teachers competing for recognition.
Yeah.
But, everyone working together to elevate the quality of education and, ultimately get better outcomes for students.
And this is where that concept of mission comes full circle. The shared mission, a clear and compelling purpose that everyone's working towards creates this powerful sense of alignment and collective efficacy.
It's no longer just about, individual teachers doing their own thing in their own classrooms.
Yeah.
It's about everyone contributing to, a larger goal, something bigger than themselves.
And that shared sense of purpose can be so motivating, not just for teachers, but for students too.
Oh, absolutely.
When students see their teachers passionate and dedicated to, constantly improving, it creates this whole culture of learning and growth that spreads throughout the entire school.
So it's about building a school where, everyone loves what they're doing and where students really thrive as a result.
Yeah.
But as we've been talking about, this doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
Building a mission-driven career in education, whether you're a teacher or an administrator, takes deliberate effort, strategic planning, and a willingness to embrace that long game.
And, it's not always easy.
No.
There'll be challenges, setbacks, and even moments of frustration along the way.
Right.
But remember why you chose this path. Remember that impact you want to make on your students, your colleagues, and your community. And remember, you're not alone in this journey.
You have, a network of colleagues, mentors, and even your students who can support and inspire you along the way.
Yeah. And just as importantly, remember to celebrate those successes, both big and small.
Right.
Take the time to acknowledge your accomplishments, appreciate how far you've come, and let those moments, really fuel your motivation.
It's about, finding that joy in the journey, savoring those aha moments, when you see a student's eyes light up with understanding.
Yeah.
Or a teacher shares a breakthrough they've had, because of your leadership.
Those are the moments that remind us why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that, make all the hard work worthwhile.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into So Good They Can't Ignore You,
yeah,
I think the key takeaway for all of you educational leaders out there is this. Building a fulfilling and impactful career in education, it's not about, finding some magical pre-existing passion.
Right.
Or waiting for the perfect opportunity to just fall into your lap.
It's about taking ownership of your professional journey.
Deliberately cultivating those valuable skills.
Right.
And discovering a mission that, really gives your work profound meaning and impact.
It's about embracing that craftsman mindset.
Yes.
Constantly seeking out challenges and relentlessly striving for improvement, not just for yourself, but for your whole school community.
It's about building, a strong network of support and collaboration.
Right.
Where mentorship and shared learning become like the cornerstones of growth.
And it's about remembering that the greatest rewards come from, making a real difference in the lives of your students, your colleagues, and your community. So knowing that passion is built, not found, what one specific skill will you focus on developing to, amplify your impact as an educational leader?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's not about finding, the perfect job or waiting for inspiration to strike.
Right.
It's about making that conscious choice to become so good they can't ignore you.